English Rise Podcast.
Easy listening and speaking practice. Hello, and welcome to the English Rise Podcast. Easy English listening and speaking practice to help you build fluency and confidence. I'm Emma. I'm really happy you're here. Have you ever felt sad for a long time? Not just a day or two, but for weeks or even months? And no matter what you do, that heavy feeling just doesn't go away? If yes, you are not alone. Today we're going to talk about something important, persistent depressive disorder. We'll use clear, gentle English, and we'll practice phrases together. Let's begin.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Marcus. I'm a clinical psychologist who works with people who feel down for a long time. I'll explain what persistent depressive disorder is, why it happens, and what steps people can take to feel better. I'll try to keep my language simple and slow so you can practice your English while learning.
Quick note for our listeners. If anything we say today feels close to your own experience, remember, I am not a doctor, Marcus is. If you are in crisis or feel unsafe, please reach out to a trusted health professional or emergency service in your country, okay? Let's start with a simple definition.
Persistent depressive disorder, sometimes called PDD and formerly known as dysthymia, is a long-lasting form of depression. The main idea is this: the sadness or low mood lasts for a long time, and it affects a person's daily life. For a diagnosis, these feelings usually continue for 2 years or more in adults. That is a long time, and it is different from feeling sad for a few days.
So, to repeat, persistent depressive disorder is long-lasting sadness. It often lasts 2 years or more. It's not a short sadness. It is long. Let's practice that sentence. Repeat after me. Persistent depressive disorder is long-lasting sadness. Again, persistent depressive disorder is long-lasting sadness.
Good. Now, Emma, can we talk about the common symptoms, the things people might notice in themselves?
Yes, Marcus. I'll say them slowly. People with persistent depression may feel sad or empty most days. They may have low energy. They may have low interest in things they used to enjoy. They may have trouble sleeping, or they may sleep too much. They may feel hopeless or have low self-esteem. These feelings can make it hard to work, to be with friends, or to care for themselves.
Right. And one thing I always want to say is this: these symptoms are not a moral failure. They are not a sign that someone is weak. They are signs that a person's brain and life are under stress. Let's break down some causes in simple terms.
Yes, many listeners ask, why does this happen? So let's explain. There is rarely one single cause. Often, there are many reasons that work together: biological, psychological, and social.
Biologically, the brain's mood systems can be less active or less balanced. Genetics can make a person more likely to feel depression. Psychologically, if someone has experienced long-term stress, negative thinking, or trauma, this can lead to persistent low mood. Socially, loneliness, financial problems, or relationship difficulties can keep the sadness going.
So, to listeners, if you're feeling this way, it is not your fault. It's not because you are weak or lazy. Many factors can cause these feelings, and help is available. Marcus, can we give an example story? A short one, to help listeners understand.
Sure. Here's a simple story. Maria is a woman in her 30s. Over the last 3 years, she has felt tired most days. She stopped meeting friends. She works, but she struggles to start projects. She says, "I feel like I'm moving through water." Maria sees a doctor and a psychologist. With small changes in therapy and routine, she starts to feel better after a few months. It's slow, but it's real progress.
Thank you, Marcus. Maria's story shows us a few things. The sadness is long, it affects daily life, and recovery is slow but possible. Listeners, here is a short practice sentence. Repeat. I am taking small steps toward feeling better. Again, I am taking small steps toward feeling better.
Great practice. Now, let's talk about how persistent depression can affect daily life. Emma, would you like to lead?
Yes. First, at work, a person may have trouble finishing tasks, may feel tired, or may avoid social parts of work. At home, they may struggle with chores, with caring for children, or with sleep. In relationships, they may feel distant from partners or friends, or they may feel misunderstood. And in self-image, they may feel worthless or guilty. These effects can make life feel smaller and harder.
I want to add, sometimes people hide these struggles. They smile at work but feel empty at home. So it helps to notice changes over time. If your energy or interest drops and stays low for months, that's important to mention to a doctor or mental health professional.
Listeners, here are short phrases you can use if you talk to a doctor. Repeat after me slowly. I have felt low for a long time. I have had little energy for months. I am finding it hard to enjoy things. Practice these aloud. This can help you explain your feelings in English.
Very helpful, Emma. Next, let's talk about support. It is so important to reach out. Support can come from friends, family, or professionals. It can also come from group programs and community services.
Reaching out is hard. Many people feel shame or fear, but usually people who care want to help. You might say to a friend, I have been feeling low for a long time. Can we talk? Or to a doctor, I think I may have depression. What can I do? Small steps like these can open the door to support.
When someone reaches out, a doctor or therapist will ask questions about symptoms and history. They may use questionnaires. They may recommend therapy, medication, or both. Sometimes they suggest lifestyle changes first. The important thing is that treatment is individualized. It depends on each person.
Marcus, can you explain some common treatments in simple words? Many learners will want to know.
Of course. One main treatment is psychotherapy, often called talk therapy. Cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, helps people notice negative thinking and try small changes in behavior. Another is medication, such as antidepressants, which can help balance mood chemicals in the brain. Some people benefit from both therapy and medication. There are also other options like support groups, exercise plans, and sometimes newer medical treatments for severe cases. But the first steps are often therapy and medication.
Let's break that into simple steps a listener can understand and try. Step 1. Talk to a trusted health professional. Step 2, try a small change, like a daily routine. Step 3, consider therapy. Step 4, ask about medication if needed. And Step 5, keep in contact with friends or family. These steps are not always in this order, but they are all possible parts of recovery.
Recovery is often gradual. Some days will be better, some days worse. That is normal. The important message, small, consistent actions can produce change. Setting very small goals, like a 5-minute walk or making one phone call, can be a starting point.
Okay, listeners, let's try a small English practice. I will say a simple routine plan. Repeat after me. Today, I will walk for 5 minutes. Today, I will drink a glass of water. Today, I will call one friend. Good. These are small, simple steps.
Now, I want to give practical self-care ideas that are low pressure. These are not cures by themselves, but they help. First, sleep routine. Try to go to bed and wake up at similar times. Second, movement. Any movement helps. Walking, stretching, or gentle yoga. Third, routine. A simple daily schedule can make days feel safer. Fourth, mindfulness. A short breathing exercise can calm the body.
Let's do a very short breathing practice together. This is practice English and self-care. Breathe in through your nose for 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 2 counts. 1, 2. Breathe out for 6 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Repeat once more. Breathe in, hold, breathe out. How do you feel? Small exercises like this can help in the moment.
Good. Also, try to limit alcohol and drugs. These can worsen mood. Eating regular meals helps. And if you can, do one small thing you used to enjoy, even if it feels hard. The brain will gradually remember pleasure with repetition.
Marcus, sometimes listeners ask, how long will it take to get better? What do you say?
That is a common question. There is no fixed timeline. Some people feel better in weeks or months with the right treatment. Others take longer. With persistent depression, progress is often slow, but small steps add up. The focus is on steady improvement, not quick fixes.
Listeners, if you have slow progress, that is okay. Progress is still progress, and you are learning skills you can use for life. Marcus, can we share a few helpful phrases that listeners can use when talking with friends about their feelings?
Absolutely. Simple phrases. I have been feeling low lately. I need someone to listen. Can we talk? I am trying to get help. Practicing these sentences can make it easier to reach out. Try them now. Repeat. I need someone to listen. Can we talk? Good.
I want to add, sometimes friends are unsure what to say. It's okay to say simple things like, I'm here for you, or thank you for telling me. Small, kind responses can be very powerful.
Another option is a support group. In a group, people share experiences. This can reduce loneliness and show you are not alone. There are online groups and in-person groups. If a group feels safe, it can offer connection and ideas.
Now, let's discuss how to spot persistent depression in a friend. You might notice long-term low mood, decreased interest in activities, changes in sleep or appetite, and withdrawal from social life. If you see these for many months, consider saying, I'm worried about you. Can I help you find support? That can be a life-changing question.
And remember, boundaries and self-care matter for helpers too. If you support someone, make sure you also have your own support and limits. Help